Alright my friends, it's Krebsy, and I'm gonna show you guys a video that it's a little bit different from what we usually do, you know, the War Thunder, Space Engineers, whatever else. But I thought it'd be really interesting and something different as an appreciation video because we hit 50,000 subscribers over the weekend, and that's a huge milestone for me and for us. For all of us. And if you follow me on Facebook, I said a big thank you to all of you, but if you don't follow me, then a thank you to all of you for being part of this YouTube journey with me. It really just means a lot to me, and I guess it's all about going upwards and forwards from here, right? So I was at my dad's home over the weekend. My brother and my mom were there, and my brother actually bought me this model plane set over Christmas. Now, to be honest with you guys, I never considered myself to be interested in making models. I always thought that making models would be sort of like a geeky thing, something maybe older men would do. And given that I'm only 22 years old, you know, maybe it's not something I would get into. And to be honest with you, at first I wasn't really into it. But then I started taking out the pieces from the mesh of parts that there is, started putting them together, started gluing them together, and started painting stuff, and it actually turned out to be a lot of fun. It was very time consuming, and what we're actually doing right now is we're putting together a bomber, my brother and I. That's my brother in the background with my hands in the foreground. We're actually putting together a Bristol Blenheim right now, and my brother also made a ferry battle by himself. So apart from that, I've also got a Hawker Hurricane that I made about 2 weeks ago over Christmas, and now all these three planes are sitting on my desk. What we're doing right now is we're assembling all these pieces together, and if you've ever done models before, you would know that it's a lot of you have to put a lot of pieces together depending on the difficulty. I think this is like a 2 out of 3 on this kit that I'm doing, so it's not the hardest. And my brother was actually telling me that there are kits out there that have, you know, hundreds of pieces that you gotta paste together, lots and lots of detail, lots of little fragile parts, and those are really difficult. I mean, this is hardly any pieces, but I'm finding it difficult enough. And if you've never actually put together one of these models before, you're probably intimidated, you know, all these parts that you have to put together, but really it's sort of like putting Lego bricks together into one big piece. I'm sure you know what it's like. You get the box of Lego and it shows you on the front what it's supposed to look like, and then all it is just a matter of, you know, putting stuff together, putting the pieces together. Except with these models, you're using super glue and then painting over it, and yeah. So what you do at first, what we did at first was, you know, we take out all the parts. We put it together, and we've come to this point where we've got the outline of the plane. It's a bit rough. You can see a bit of the gaps in the fuselage. It's not completely perfect, and even the gun turret at the back, for example, is sort of sticking out a bit. There's a bit of a gap, but it's something you have to expect when you're making these models for the first time in your life. Even the, you know, first, second, third, whatever number of times. We're just doing the beginner sort of stuff, and I could imagine when you're doing this as a long-term hobby, you're gonna get a lot of these techniques and develop your techniques, and also get more sophisticated tools. Like, we're using paint brushes and the paints that came in the box. I stopped by a model store today, and they were saying that there's actually sprays, spraying equipment that you use, that if you want to get really detailed planes that look realistic, and to make it look like what it is on the box. Because on the box you've got these camouflages that blend perfectly with each other, from the brown to the green to whatever other color blends perfectly, whereas we're just using these paint brushes. It's not going to look beautiful. But it still looks pretty good in the end. It's not terrible. It looks pretty good. So what you get is this gray plastic, and you have to apply your paint onto it and draw the actual decal. So I'm just doing a rough sort of sketch of what is on the box, and at this point my brother's actually gone, so he went home and he was going to come back tomorrow in the morning. So I'm actually just putting on the first layer of paint, because what you'll see when you're actually putting on, or if you ever do this, when you're putting on the first layer of paint, chances are it's going to be really rough. As in, you can see it right now when you're looking at the green and the brown. There's a lot of, you can still see the gray mixed in between. And there's just me watching a James Bond movie in the background with Roger Moore. I don't know which one it is. I'm not sure if that's Octopussy or whatever it is. It might be Octopussy, but it's with Roger Moore, an older James Bond. Something to keep me entertained while I'm doing these models. And I guess that's actually one of the great things about it. You can be with your family, talk to your family, watch some TV, and do this at the same time, and it really does pass the time. And what you're seeing in this video is, it's gonna be, you know, a few minutes long, this video, but overall it probably took us, if I'm to put, you know, paste a guess right now, or hazard a guess, maybe 10-12 hours just for a single plane, putting everything together. You know, it's not always going to be like that. Once you get used to making these things, I bet you could do it in half that time, if not even quicker. But we're a bit slow. We're still learning. So after applying the first coat on the front, I'm applying the next one coat onto the underside. And they've got this white camouflage here, and I'm sure a lot of you know why it's white. It's to make the plane blend in when it's in the sky. So if you're looking up at it, it's a lot harder to see that plane from the underside. And so that's the coat that we've got. That's my brother right there. He's a bit camera shy. He's actually looking away. I think he's telling me to go away. And these are some of the plans. Looks complicated, you know, all these pieces coming together, but essentially all it is just a few pieces, and it's just showing you where you need to glue those pieces onto to keep it all together. It looks complicated, but it really isn't. You just have to follow it one step at a time. If you've ever put together your own wooden desk, or your own wooden table, or own chair, whatever, you know, do it yourself sort of stuff, then you'll be used to doing something like this. And so after putting that first coat of paint on, it's time for that second coat of paint, and you're gonna see the much richer colors. I sound like an artist right now. Much richer colors than what it was previously, and there'll be a much greater contrast between the brown and the green, and the overall quality of it comes out. So if you look, for example, on the right hand side, this is with the second coat, and on the left hand side, that's with the first coat. It's even got some paint from the underside dripped onto the front, on the top side of it. And here's going to be another example of the second coat on the left wing and the second coat on the right wing. You can see a big difference between how the second coat is more white, and on the first coat it's more green. It's also kind of important that you mix your colors right, because for example, the underside of the plane, it's supposed to be white, but how the colors work is that they get whitish color, and then, or yellowish color, and then green, like a limey green, and then you have to mix it together to make that sort of white. But that's not it. We're not finished. After getting those coats on, we've got to then put in the details. Make the prop black, make the wheels black, also add in the frame, and this is just absolutely rubbish. I realized during this that I don't have the skills to be a surgeon. No way. My hand is just far too shaky, and when I'm trying to use these details on the make the frame, the wooden frames around the windows, it's just way too blobby. And in fact, what I'm doing is using this little knife here, this little blade, to actually scrape away at the window edges, so that it looks more sharp and more thin and more fine and better looking, rather than having this smudged color effect everywhere. That's just me cutting it away. But last but not least, once you've got all those paints on, last step is to put on those decals. Now, I'm making this a bit too complicated for myself. I thought, and I bet a lot of people actually do this as well when they first start making models, I thought you actually had to cut around whatever the decal is and then you paste it on. But you don't actually have to do that. You can just simply cut a square, or even dab the whole decals, all the decals into just water, and then they peel off by themselves, and they come out in perfect shape. Because before, what I did on my Hawker Hurricane, which was my first model, I actually cut out, you see those letters like the GB, and then the roundel, and then the D or whatever. I was actually cutting out those letters exactly, which is just so pointless, because I thought that's how you did it, but you can just cut a square or a rectangle around those letters, and then they've actually got a layout already, a predefined layout, so that around the letters it's actually transparent, and it's much easier to put on to your plane. And so you dip it in a bit of water, and now you just wait a little bit so that the water does its work on the decal, starts putting a bit of separation between the plastic bit at the back and the thin layer, which is the decal on the front. So let's start pulling at it. Okay, a little bit. You gotta be careful here. Gotta be careful, or else if you tug too much, then you're gonna end up wrecking it. So here I am. Come on, come on. Just rubbing it slightly. Oh, I think it's starting to come off a little bit. And pull, crabs, pull. Pull, 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 but don't pull too hard. Oh no. Yeah, that's what can happen. You can end up ripping the decals. They're so fragile. So it's not the end of things. What I do is I just paste the bigger bit down, and then I try to match up the small little bit onto the rest of the decal. There you go. Paste it down, just like that. You have to make sure it's wet. I don't think this is actually wet, so I have to dab it in some water first, again. Now you paste it down. It's a bit hard to do this with one hand. I've got one hand on the camera and one hand on the decal. It's a little bit hard. But once you've done all that, you put the letters on, you put the roundels on and whatnot, then you have to do the inspection of the plane, make sure it's in tip-top shape, and what you get is this result. 2 bombers and a fighter, all sitting on my subwoofer. So that's the Blenheim right there. It's going to go over to the Hurricane and then over to the ferry battle. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this. It's a little bit something different, but I thought it'd be cool for 50,000 subscribers. And I hope you, enjoyed it. Until next one, this is Krebsy, and I'll catch you guys later.